Alright, hello once again, this is Jeff Scott of Rankin Technical College, and I've been going over a series of video presentations I'm creating for the Rankin Technical College AWD Application and Web Development 1111.NET Framework with Web Databases course. And I am going through these presentations from the textbook for the course, which is ASP.NET MVC with Entity Framework and CSS by Naylor. I am working my way through Chapter 6 of 18, and I just ran my program and saw this. So I'm up to the displaying images in search results. And as it says here, the other place where we want to display product images is in search results. We're going to update the product's index view to display the main image for each product, and make this image a hyperlink to the details page for each product. To display images in the product index view, we will modify the index.cshtml file. So there's the create. Here is our indexes.cshtml file. So what do we want to do here? Well, according to this, we want to go down to the beginning of our table. Right here. And before we put in this first table heading, after the TR, we want a blank table heading. Alright. Then after the for each loop that we've got running right here, we're going to want to add a bit of code, and I think it's going to, again, as always, work out nicer if I come down and find that code here. So there was the blank th, and here on the bottom of page 155 and a little bit on the top of 156 is the code we have to add. So oops, copy right after the for each. And the TR, so right before the TD, we want to add some code. All right, we'll fix that up momentarily, but at the bottom here, we also want to add a curly brace and an ending TD tag. All right, so this is what we just added. Again, as I always do, I'm kind of prettying it up a little bit. Right. All right, so as the author mentions on the bottom of page 156, this code first creates a hyperlink to the product's details view and passes along the product's ID. Next, it adds an image tag inside of the hyperlink with the source of the image set to the file name of the first image in the product image mappings. Remember, this is sorted by image number. The code for retrieving the file name is identical to that used for the product details view to display the main image. So we are supposed to display the products view. So let's try that. So let's save, run this. I'm making my way through this slowly but surely, more slowly but slowly. All right, no pun intended here. So we're coming in here, slash products, slash page 6. If I did that correctly. And that looks pretty good. It looks pretty much the way it looks in figure 626 on page 157. All right. To complete this chapter, we're going to cover how to edit the images associated with a product. We're going to allow users to remove an image from a product by simply selecting nothing in the list box, or to overwrite an image by choosing another image from the list box. If the user removes an image from a product and there is another image following the removed image, the second image's image number will be updated to move it up higher in the list. For example, if there are 2 images and the user removes the main image, the second image will become the main image. All right. So there's a bunch of updating that we're going to have to do in here, and I know exactly where I'd like to get up to. So let's see how it goes. So the first thing that we have to do here, as mentioned in our text, and I'm on the about halfway down on page 157. So you just saw this, okay? So the first thing we have to do is update the get version of the edit method of the product controller so that the edit view can display the current images and controls and allow the user to change them. The edit view is going to display 5 HTML select controls, but this time each control will have images assigned to the product selected by default. To achieve this, we're going to use the product view model again. First, update the get version of edit for the product controller to show the highlighted changes. If I have a complaint about this book, it's the fact that the spine never seems to stay. So let's jump back into our code. Stop this run. All right. And again, we want to go to our edit. Let's remove a bunch of these. We'll leave up the product controller. And we want to get to the edit. There we are. So right after this if statement that checks if the product is null right here. So before this view bag that's in here and returning the view, remember we're using the view bag in here. All right. So this is going to be removed and it's going to be replaced with all of this stuff right here. Alright, so let's quickly take a look at what's in there. The code is similar to the get version of the create method, so it says we're not going to cover it all here. The main difference is between the two methods is the following code, and that is where we've got the two for statements. For each statements, for each and a for. The first for loop sorts the product images by image number and then adds a new select list with the selected value to the current product image ID for every entry in the product image mappings of the product. In simple terms, or in other words, this generates a select list for each image currently associated with a product with the current image selected. The second loop checks to see if there are fewer than 5 select lists. If there are, then more select lists are added until 5 have been generated. So the edit.cs HTML has to be updated accordingly here. View product edit.cs HTML. And it's a pretty big file, as you can see. But we want to first change the model up at the top. And instead of using models, we want to be using here view model dot product view model. Okay. And we want to jump down. So most of the code that's in here is fine. We have a little bit to add right before the div for the button, which is right there. So right there, we want to add, let's see, we want to do two things. We want to come in and do some work here with the category. This one's going to change to a drop-down list. So we're going to change that line right there. Next, after this div is where we're going to add some new code right in here with a for loop in it that we'll discuss momentarily, and that's the code that's right here. As always, let's pretty this up a tad. All right, this code changes, or the code changes to this view are identical to those made to the product's create view. The for loop is going through the image lists property to display the select list for each entry. All right, and as shown in figure 627 on page 161, it shows the result of the changes to the controller and the view when attempting to edit the test creation with images product. All right, so let's go and save this and go on in there and run this. So we'll view it in browser, and we're going to edit, looks like 18. All right, so edit 18. And we see test creation with images, test description, $1. And notice how numbers 1, 2, and 3, this has changed from the way that it was before. This was empty, this was empty. All right, this had 5 in it, this had 4 in it, and this had 3 in it. So, the assigned images have been assigned, I guess, better, however you want to say that, than the way they were before. All right. So this is what we just saw. Updating the products controller HTTP post edit method, performing model binding using try update model. As mentioned here in all the previous methods where model binding occurred, the default code created by the scaffolding process was used. However, this code is actually not recommended for edits by Microsoft, as bind will clear out all existing data in fields not listed in the include parameter of the method's input parameters. And they show an example here. All right. So the author says we could use the view model to manually assign values to fields, but instead they're going to demonstrate how to use try update model to whitelist fields that you want to be edited. Now, I want to very quickly look here at whitelisting versus blacklisting. Let's take a look at this one. It looks like it'll work. I don't feel like doing that. Let's try this one. I don't like that one either. All right. So it says the differences in approach. It is important to know the approaches and differences with a whitelist and a blacklist. With whitelist, default deny uses a list of approved things. Items not on the approved things are restricted or denied depending on company's needs. So when you whitelist, what you attempt to do is to provide a list of everything that's legal. And if the user attempts to do something not on that list, they're not allowed to do so. Now, hopefully that made sense. With a blacklist, you put up a list of things that are not allowed. All right? So with a list of things that are not allowed, if it's not on that list, then it is valid. Then you can do it. So it says, as you can see, the primary difference is that whitelisting automatically denies everything and just allows a few things, while blacklisting automatically approves everything and rejects just a few things. If you blacklist items, you have to know the known threats associated with the programs and applications. Otherwise, you'd risk an infection. With a whitelist, you can approve the things your company needs and effectively block everything else. Now that's a little bit kind of hard to understand, all right, but it's, are you going to put everything in that you know is valid? All right, look at it this way. Let's assume we've got an application, and I've got 5 users: Jeff, Bob, Bill, Mary, and Jane. If we whitelist, then what we're saying is those 5 users can use the app, change the app, whatever, and no one else can. All right? I don't know if that helped, if it hurt, okay? But the author says The code for editing images associated with a project will follow these rules. The user can delete the association between a product and an image by setting the select control to choose image. If any images are left blank, the images that follow them will get a lower image number. For example, if you leave product image 1 empty, but you've chosen the product image 2 control, that will become the main image. All right. So we want to make some changes in the edit method in our products controller file. And the post that's in here. This was the get. Here is the post. All right. So the first thing we want to do is change, as you can see, what we have put in there as a parameter. Don't worry about this product stuff. I think it'll find its way to where it works in just a minute. And the only thing we want in here is this, it looks like. Okay. Not all paths return a value. Well, that isn't good. I'm going to grab the whole thing here and see if I still get an error. And I am. Next, we want to add, well, that's one, a try update model statement with a whitelist containing the name, description, price, and category. So we want to add these. That's where it is, and that'll be our return. Notice that that's now gone. So the author says here on page 162, the first thing that we did up here was to clear the contents of an existing edit method and replace it with that new code that's shown there. Next, we added the try update model with a whitelist containing name, description, price, and category fields, along with default actions. This additional code will try to update the whitelisted fields of the product to update. The data in the whitelist is obtained from the posted form data. The code to return the edit view back to the user is called only if the try update model fails. All right. Next, inside of this if, we're going to add more code, as you can see here. So this is the thing we just put in, and we're going to add an if inside of that if. What does that mean? That means that we're going to go in here and add some code. Right, that's the first part, and the next part is on the top of page 163. And you'll notice the author is doing this very incrementally. Got a for loop here. For right now, we're not doing anything in that for loop. So this additional code will check if any images are currently assigned to the product. If they're not, it makes a new list to add to. A new array or string named product images is created, and the file choices picked by the user are assigned to this, and any blank choices are removed. Next, we have that for loop that you saw right there that loops through the chosen images. Once they've all been processed, it saves the changes to the database, directs the user back to the product index page. Now inside the for loop, it says find the image mapping to edit. This is the mapping where the image number is the same as the current loop iteration. Following this, find the image that the user has chosen and assign it to the image variable. All right. So in this for loop, we're going to add this code. Again, I just like putting this over a couple lines like this because I think it makes it much easier to see what's going on. May or may not agree. All right. Okay, so as it says, get the image currently stored, find the new image. Then underneath that, we're going to want to add some additional code that's right here. Notice again, there's nothing in the if and there's nothing in the else. So if there's nothing stored, then we need to add a new mapping. Otherwise, it's not a new file, so edit the current mapping. Alright, so my guess is we're going to come back in here and add some more code on the next page. Yep, there's the if. Now modify the code to add a new mapping. This code creates a new mapping and assigns the image to it, sets the image number property of the mapping, and assigns the image ID. Otherwise, as it says, update the else to process the existing mappings. This code right here in the black checks if the images are the same. If they're not the same, and if it's required, it updates the mapping with the new image. Says this concludes the code for mapping or editing file mappings. There is a full listing on the following pages. To complete the method, we need to deal with a scenario whereby a user wants to remove an image from a product. It says add the following code to loop through the number of items the user left blank and delete any mappings in those slots. So right after that for loop that we put in, we're going to have to add this code right here. All right, so right here, delete any other mappings that the user did not include in their selections for the product. Copy that. Paste that in here. You know, I'm always very interested, so if anybody out here is watching this, gosh, I sure hope somebody is, but if anybody is out here watching this and you think this is really effective, it's helping, or it's not helping, either way, I like to try to consider all criticism to be constructive. So if you let me know if there's something that's in here that's not making sense, or there's something that's in here that you think, wow, it would be a lot better if you did this, whatever this is, I'd like to hear from you. jpscott@rankin.edu. All right, now this code has to refer to the product image mappings table directly. You cannot delete a mapping via the product because it will simply try to set the foreign key of the product to null, which will cause an exception. The completed method should now appear as in the previous code. All right, once again, I'm at 30 minutes, so I'm going to stop and pick it up on testing product image editing, which is on page 166. So I'll be back with that presentation shortly.